the 5 things that we're covering tonight, the first one was the claims form that we just went through with Leslie. The second one are the declarations. This is separate from the claims form, but it's still establishing your exposure. And we're going to have Channing speak about the declaration types.
It's important to know that when you get your claims packet, just like your registration packet, it had a lot of documents in there. Your claims packet is going to be very similar. There will be a lot of documents in there. You'll have your claims form that Leslie just went over, and then there will be a variety of different declarations. And which declaration you complete and submit depends on the settlement category or categories that you selected on that claims form. So for example, if you selected categories 1 through 27 on that claims form, which again speak to physical harm that you suffered as a result of being exposed to the water, you're going to complete the exposure declaration. If you selected categories 28 through 30, which relate to you owning or leasing property or being responsible for water bills, you're going to complete the real property owner / renter or business owner declaration. And if you owned a business and you selected that category in on your claims form, you're going to also complete the business interruption form, attesting to the loss that you suffered as a result of being a business owner in relation to the water. Okay, so we're going to briefly go over these declarations. So like the claims forms, your declaration forms will be auto-populated based on the information you provided in your registration form. You'll have your name in relationship to the claimant of the property owner / lessor of the residence. And if some of this terminology gets confusing, we're around to answer your questions, okay? So don't be confused by anything you see on these forms. We're here to help. It will ask you on the declaration to identify other places other than your residence where you're exposed to the Flint water. So if you have lived in Flint, you've worked in Flint, you've gone to school in Flint, there have been multiple places of exposure that you've had to deal with in relation to the water. Now, there are several prompts on the exposure declaration form. One relates to your exposure period from April 25th, 2014 to 2016. And the second relates to your exposure between 2016 and 2020. Okay, so really you're just identifying the time period when you were exposed, okay? And now on the declaration form, you're only going to complete Section 8 if you suffered from Legionnaire's, if you were diagnosed with Legionnaire's disease. And I think we have a picture of the form. Okay, so here you can see the prompts that I was just talking about that are highlighted. It says the residence is owned or leased by. Okay, so this wasn't on your registration form. This is now what you're going to identify for that address that you put on your registration form. You're going to identify who owns or leases it, and the relationship to you or the minor you're completing the form on behalf of. And then you'll see in Section 5, other spots where you could have been exposed to the water, right? School, business, daycare, etc. And it really just continues on giving you lots of options for that. And then Section 6 and 7 is what we just talked about when you were exposed. Section 8 is only for Legionnaire's diagnosis. Okay, the second declaration type is the real property owner / renter or business owner declaration. Again, this is only if you selected categories 27 through or 28 and 29. And this is for essentially if you owned, leased, or were a business owner in Flint. Essentially, if you were paying water bills or responsible for paying water bills in Flint, you're going to complete this declaration. Okay, so you're going to identify the name of the business and the nature of interest and percentage in that business or home. Okay, so that is in Section 4. So for example, if you own your home and you're the sole homeowner, you're going to put owner in that box, and then percentage of ownership is going to be 100%. Okay. If you lease an apartment, for example, and you are responsible for half of that rent each month, you're going to put nature of interest is going to be lessee, and in percentage of ownership, you're going to put 50%. Okay. Now, it might get a little bit more complicated, but again, we're going to be able to answer those questions moving forward. Okay. So in section 5, we've got the same thing. Okay, it's just related to the business. Okay, and the last declaration is the business interruption form. Now, this is only if you've selected categories 29 and 30 on your claims form. So this is only for business owners and business owners attesting that they have lost income in their business as a result of the crisis. Okay, you're attesting to the amount that you're claiming in damages, how you came to that amount, and also it's really important to note that you have to provide tax records for that. Okay, so each of the 2 years prior to the loss, the year of the loss, and 1 year after the loss to compare the loss in income.